Ladies and gentlemen, I know the last video was a bit more controversial and pretty much riled up the whole comment section, which is why in today's video, we're gonna be discussing a champion that we can all agree on is one of the best cosmic champions in the game. And of course, that champion is none other than Hulkling, a phenomenal attacker as well as just one of the most annoying defenders of all time, a champ who has the damage as well as the utilities, and one that's always fighting for spot number 2 when it comes to the cosmic tier lists. But before we get too much into that, let's actually go over all of his abilities first, and then later on discuss why everybody plays him. Hulkling is immune to poison as well as shock, and is also immune to power drain, power steal, and power burn, and he also reduces incoming heal block duration by 2 seconds flat. Whenever he prevents an effect via an immunity, he gains 1 shape-shifting charge, his offensive combat power rate is decreased by 20%, and he gains additional attack rating for each unique buff that he has. Moving on to his shape-shifting charges, and the max of these that he can have is 8. He starts the fight with 3 of these charges and gains 1 charge every 1 second while he's not attacking with a basic attack or while he's not being struck. These charges can be converted into a buff depending on the type of action that Hulkling performs. Each of these buffs lasts for 16 seconds and can actually stack up to 4 times. He also gains 7% of a bar of power each time he gains one of these buffs. But as for the different buffs that he gains, when he hits the opponent's block, he converts 1 shape-shifting charge into a pierce buff with a certain amount of potency. When he strikes with a light or medium attack, he converts into an aptitude buff, which increases the potency of his fury, armor, as well as precision buffs by 18%. When he performs a well-timed block, he converts into a bulwark buff, which increases his block proficiency by a certain amount. And lastly, when he's struck by the opponent, he converts into a regen buff which heals 65% of the damage that he actually took from the strike. Moving on to his peak transformation, which I don't know why they call it that. Every 5 pierce buffs that he gained will grant him an unblockable buff for 5 seconds and is reduced to every 3 buffs when fighting as a defender. Every 8 regeneration buffs gained also grant him an indestructible buff for 2.5 seconds and is reduced to every 5 buffs when he's fighting as a defender. If either of his buffs are nullified, they are then replaced with an identical passive, which has an increased duration of 3 seconds. Both his indestructible buff and passive will be removed after being struck by the opponent's SP3. As for his heavy attack, it inflicts a non-stacking Intimidate debuff for 7 seconds, which makes the opponent less aggressive and reduces their block proficiency by a certain amount. It also has a cooldown of 15 seconds, but let's actually move on to his special attacks. The Special 1. For the next 10 seconds, the time between gaining a shape-shifting charge will be decreased by 0.5 seconds, and if Hulkling is unblockable or becomes unblockable during the attack, it'll actually pause all of his personal buffs other than the unblockable until 2 seconds after the attack. The Special 2. On activation, he'll be granted a Fury buff which increases his attack rating by a large amount for 10 seconds, and if he's unblockable or becomes unblockable during the attack, he gains another Fury buff which increases his attack rating by a even larger amount for 10 seconds. What? And last but not least, the Special 3. If he has at least 2 bulwark shapeshifting buffs, he pauses 2 of them for the remainder of the fight, which can be activated once per fight, and if he doesn't have enough bulwark buffs or if they're already paused, he'll then pause the aptitude buffs instead and then the pierce buffs, and if he doesn't have enough bulwark, aptitude, or pierce buffs, or if they're all paused, he instead gains shapeshifting charges up to their max. But moving on to his awakened ability, his personal bulwark buff duration will be increased by 1.5 up to 4 seconds flat, and his personal fury buff duration will also be increased from 0.5 seconds up to 3 seconds flat, and lastly he'll gain additional armor penetration for each active personal pierce buff that he has. And that is pretty much it for all of Hulkling's abilities. Definitely a cosmic champion with the amount of buffs that he can gain, And although his kit isn't really the best out there or the most fluid, you simply can't deny the amount of damage that he deals. Not to mention the utility on top of it, which he has a bunch of rare immunities to find in the game, but it is also interesting to have a cosmic champion that focuses on hitting the opponent's block. But anyways, onto this man's attire and it's honestly not that bad, it's pretty much just kind of questionable. It definitely suits him and he's pretty much just rocking the fit overall, but that doesn't mean I like the outfit in general. Pink, green and black isn't a combination that you see a lot, so interesting. Of course he does have his sword, which whew, and of course we can't ignore the wings, man, out here looking like a cosmic Sauron. But for him it's sort of a scam because he doesn't have the wings all the time. He only has them during his special attacks, whereas Sauron he's pretty much always just like this. His head shape's also a little bit funny, but doesn't that mean Hulkling is just Sauron but for women? Overall the outfit is not that bad and I'll actually give it a 6 out of 10. And of course moving on to the topic of the video, why everybody plays him. And for this part, if you have him then you pretty much already know why. Hulkling is a very simple champion to play, one that requires you to sort of time everything right so that you have enough buffs, so that you can do the most amount of damage possible, but he's also very easy to play and deals a lot of damage. Other than his damage though, his utilities are very impressive, because he can basically take a lot of fights that a lot of other champions cannot, while having the damage on top of that. The only thing I don't like about him, his fury buffs don't last too long, but it sort of makes sense since if they did last any longer, then he'd be too busted of a champion, I think. But other than that, he's pretty much okay. And that's pretty much it for Hulkling. Let me know down in the comments who next I should make a video on. Make sure to join my Discord group, the link will be down in the description. And yeah, I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace!
Coffee, how I like my men. I don't like coffee.
In the realm of whimsical banter, where the delicate threads of humor are intricately woven into the fabric of linguistic artistry, there emerges a jest of unparalleled charm. I harbor a penchant for my male counterparts, akin to the manner in which I savor my coffee. But here lies the exquisite twist. Dear interlocutor, I hold no fondness for coffee. Within this comical vignette, the orator artfully juxtaposes the complexities of romantic inclinations with the ritualistic nuances of coffee preferences.